Pat Forde ranks the Vols 15th among all Sweet 16 teams. 4 Downs brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of experience in his office, you'll save thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. His approach is very simple. Best service, best prices. How can you beat that? So let's dive into what Pat Forde and Sports Illustrated thinks about the Vols. 4 Downs. For the record, Pat Forde and SI has Alabama number 1. So I ask you, first down, is Alabama truly the number 1 team in the nation?
I think if you combine talent on the court and X's and O's coaching, then yes. Now, we can say whatever we want about the character and the focus of this team, but if you combine, look, Nate Oates is a great X's and O's coach, and he's got some real talent on that team. So I think Alabama's truly the number 1 team right now on the court. I think by default, because I think this is just a very mediocre field.
No, I agree. I would probably have Houston slightly above them, but you're talking about a coin flip at this point. All right, so second down, are the Vols better than San Diego State, who is listed above them? The reason I picked San Diego State, defensive-minded team, right above them. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I have trouble believing that San Diego State is significantly better talent-wise. So they're both defensive-minded teams, but yet Sports Illustrated has San Diego State in front of them. I don't get that. Going through the SEC, which is very difficult, I think Tennessee's a better team than San Diego State. I think the spread would be somewhere along the lines of 5 or 6 if they played. How about you?
No, I want to go nuclear on Pat Forde for this, because this is absolutely stupid. San Diego State is not better than Tennessee. I've criticized Tennessee and their ability to go deep in the tournament because of their defensive mindedness and how they play too physical and it grinds too much and it lessens their offensive efficiency. San Diego State does the same thing on a smaller level. Defensive-minded teams, the more powerful teams, are always going to be the better ones. Think about football day for a minute, covering football. Have you ever met a defensive-minded mid-major team? Has a mid-major team ever upset a powerhouse with defense? No, they do it with creative offense.
It's true.
It's the same in basketball. You think a smaller school like San Diego State, because defense that comes down to your size, length, athleticism. Do you really think San Diego State has more size, length, athleticism than Tennessee? No.
No, I don't. I thought it was a curious pick by Pat Forde. And there's something that needs to be said. And I know a lot of Tennessee fans feel that a lot of national media are against you. Well, there's a reason for that. And I'm not saying it's anything to be ashamed of. Heck, enjoy it. But Tennessee fans do have a habit, and you pointed this out too, Caleb. The Vol Twitter Nation has a habit of attacking people that disagree with Tennessee's perhaps best intentions. And Pat Forde is one of those guys that's drawn the ire before. So he'll probably draw it again.
Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. Vol Twitter, I respect it, but Vol Twitter will, if you don't come correct at Tennessee, Vol Twitter will destroy you. And Duke's already learned about this week. Duke fans on Twitter have been getting wrecked and complaining about it. Pat Forde was one of the worst. Let's call it what it is. He is mad at Vol Twitter because he was carrying the water for Greg Schiano, because he had a personal he had personal access to Greg Schiano, so he wanted Schiano to get that job, and he was running PR for Schiano after Schiano didn't get that job in 2017. That's what happened.
Interesting. I'll let that lie there. I thought that Tennessee was a bit disheveled in whoever they were trying to hire at the time. And they misled their fan base in an orchestrated attempt on social media. Better than Xavier. The reason I picked Xavier a little higher rated on Pat Forde's list, but they have a little bit more basketball tradition than Tennessee. So is Tennessee better than Xavier?
I think that I would have them close to being on Xavier's level. The thing about Xavier that's big is that they have a lot of people who can score. And that's the one advantage they have over Tennessee is, who's Tennessee's going to, we still don't know who Tennessee can turn to if things get tight and you're like, you need a bucket. We've talked about that all year. Xavier has like 4 guys that can do that. And I think that helps Xavier. They're a little more they're not aggressive on defense, but they're effective. So if Tennessee played Xavier, it'd be another one of those boring games. But I'm not so sure that – I don't know if Tennessee is better than Xavier, but I definitely don't think Xavier is, 4 or 5 spots better than Tennessee?
No, and we get to that upper level when you kind of get on his list beyond about 9 or so. That's Michigan State, and that's a group that has some really good coaching. Xavier comes in at 12. The reason I picked them is because that's about where I would have Tennessee, the 10, 11, 12 mark, maybe even 9, because I think there are 9 teams that either because of their coaching or their history in the tournament, they have a bona fide advantage. But I don't think it's 11. I don't think it's 12. I don't think it's 13. I don't think it's 14. And right now, Sports Illustrated has Tennessee as the 15th best team in the NCAA tournament, which essentially might as well be last. I mean, let's be real honest with you, because you have Princeton, who was a 15 seed, and at 16, Tennessee's a 4 seed behind San Diego State, that was a 5, behind Florida Atlantic, that was a 9. You might as well have Tennessee dead last in this thing.
Yeah. And here's the crazy part. They're one of the teams that's favored to go to the Elite Eight, and you have them next to last. I think they're a higher seed than half the teams in the Sweet 16. And I'm with you. I would have them at 9th. I would have them ahead of a lot of the lower seeds. I would consider having them ahead of Michigan State. I think a lot of that is just the belief in what Tom Izzo does. But I think that's a little overblown. And I'm going to say this about Tom Izzo with all due respect to him. I'm a Grizzly fan. I love Zach Randolph, and his game was developed by Tom Izzo. So I got no beef with him. Tom Izzo gets Michigan State to the Sweet 16. He's only got 1 national championship, though. Once the second and third weekend come, his team, once they play better teams, they never really get over that hump. They got over it one time 20 years ago.
It feels like it's the same story with Tom Izzo. Watch out for him. He'll make some noise in the tournament, and they always play physical and rebound. Don't we say the same thing each and every year?
Every year. They play physical and rebound, and they get to the next weekend, and they lose. By the way, I mean, let's call it what it is. That's how Gonzaga plays, too, with Mark Few. And I would love to see Mark Few get a national title. But Gonzaga gets to the Sweet 16 every year playing physical and defensive rebounding, and then they run into somebody, and they can't close the deal.
Yeah, and is that his forever legacy, Izzo? Not to get too sidetracked, but is that forever his legacy if he doesn't win another championship?
I think you can win one and be okay. I don't think it's as bad of a legacy as Calipari's legacy is. I don't think it's that. I think the big reason I think that is I think Izzo has a style, and I think Izzo develops players for the NBA very well. I mean, let's be honest. I just brought up Zach Randolph. That's a 6'8" power forward who can't dunk. And he had a 10, 15-year career in the NBA. He was all NBA for the Grizzlies because he was so fundamentally sound. Draymond Green is a stretch forward, but does not look like he should be as elite of a player as he is. That's Tom Izzo's development more than anything else. And I think that's the big story with Izzo is that his legacy is who he's developed for the NBA. Calipari doesn't get a legacy of developing guards for the NBA. Let's be honest. Those guards would be in the NBA if they could out of high school. They're not stars because they played for Calipari for a year.